can all join palms and repeat after me. I take refuge in the Buddha. I take refuge in the Dharma.
I take refuge in the Dharma.
I take refuge in the Sangha.
I take refuge in the Sangha.
Keeping the palms joined. Put the palms down. So good morning, everybody. Thank you for being here, wherever here is. It's funny, I talk a lot about this practice and this path of patience. And usually when I talk about patience, I'm eventually mentioning this idea of us surrendering and letting go of control, which most of us like to have over situations. And often I talk about when you want to learn patience, then you must put yourself in a situation that requires patience. You know, reading a book on patience doesn't make you more patient. It just fills your head with more info on patience. You have to actually practice it. And I can't think of a more intense opportunity to practice patience than the one that we're in right now. We're living in a situation where we are forced in so many ways to give up and surrender control over our lives and the lives of those around us. And it is forcing us, whether we like it or not, to practice patience. So yes, we're in a bit of a mess right now, and that's quite an understatement. But at the same time, I try to find some sense of practice and some sense of peace and calm in any situation that we're in. And when I look at the state of the world right now and the challenges we're faced with, this is your opportunity to practice patience. This is your opportunity to really practice everything we talk about here day in and day out. And ultimately, it's driving us to a place where we must learn to surrender control over so many things and just come back to breath, come back to practice, come back to everything you've been taught or learned. If you're brand new, welcome. This is day one, and hopefully now you'll begin to develop and cultivate a practice of patience and surrendering. With that, we'll start with the meditation practice. A couple things I'll tell you before we begin. Nothing's going to happen to you, right? You're not going to float away. You're not going to have any mystical, magical experiences. The mind that races all day long is not going to shut off. Don't judge your practice, meaning don't ask yourself, are you doing this right? Are you doing it wrong? We're just going to sit and we're going to breathe. Don't expect anything. If you're sitting there waiting for some grand aha moments or deep realizations, you're probably going to be pretty disappointed. Sounds, you'll hear them. Obviously, when we meet here at Temple, Dharma Bum Temple, it's pretty quiet, unless they're doing construction across the street. But where you are now, it might not be so quiet, right? So this is life. Life is filled with chaos. And the practice of meditation is learning to get quiet and still within all of the chaos and not escaping from it. Right now, there's not much escaping. There's just learning to be with things as they are. Posture, if you are on a cushion, it often helps if you slide to the front third. Pushing the stomach forward allows the back to straighten slightly. Shoulders are relaxed. Hands can be on the knees or in the lap, whatever is comfortable. If you're on a chair or a bench or however you're seated, also trying to sit up straight, relaxing the shoulders, hands on the knees or lap. If you need to move during meditation, simply move. Movement doesn't make you a bad meditator. It just means you need to move. I'll suggest closing the eyes if that works for you, or slightly open. Mouth will be open or closed. I will guide us as we begin, and we'll settle into a little bit of silence. Most important with this practice, don't expect anything. We're just going to sit and breathe. Again, starting with the eyes closed if comfortable, or slightly open. Mouth open or closed. We'll start with taking 3 deep breaths, slowly. And eventually, settle into a natural rhythm of the breath. Noticing throughout the practice, you'll hear sounds. These are not distractions, not disruptions, simply what's happening around us as you sit. Noticing the mind as it wanders, jumping from thought to thought. And gently guide the attention, focus to the stomach or chest. Breathing in, feel them rise. And breathing out, they fall. Simply continue this practice, expecting nothing but to sit and breathe. And as the mind wanders, lost in thought, recognize it. Release that thought. Return attention, focus to the breath. Where's your mind? Lost in thought? Release that thought. Returning attention, focus to the breath. Letting go of expectations, letting go of judgment from your practice. Just sitting, breathing. Keeping the mind alert. Aware of each sound. Each thought. Each physical sensation. Yet concerned with nothing but sitting, breathing. Breathing in. Follow breath in. Breathing out. Follow breath out. And with the body still, rested, and the speech quiet, aware of all sounds, and the mind learning to settle, know what it's like to just sit and breathe. Knowing with each breath, there's nothing else to do. Nowhere else to go. No one else to be. Everything beautiful, just as it is. Sitting, breathing. And once again, taking 3 deep breaths, slowly. And as you slowly open the eyes, slowly begin to move. The most important with the practice of meditation is to recognize how you feel now, immediately after, and compare this to how you typically feel throughout your day. Recognize the difference, if there is one. And ask yourselves how you prefer to feel every day for the rest of your life. And realize however you feel now, it's quiet, calm, still, or a busy mind, racing mind, whatever you're sitting with at this moment, has nothing to do with anything I said. It's nothing to do with how you sit and hold the hands or cross the legs. It's nothing to do with the sounds around us or anything else for that matter. It's everything to do with your own mind and your own mind's reaction to an external condition. This is what the Buddha called pratitya samuppada, dependent origination. This is the basis of the Buddha's awakening. The word Buddha simply means awakened. He was a human being no different than any one of us who began to understand why he suffered, why he got angry, sad, depressed, stressed, anxious. He began to understand the causal relationship of all phenomena. And what that means very simply for all of us sitting here right now, regardless of where you come from or what you believe in and where you think you're going, your whole life is filled with things that happen and you react. More stuff happens, more reactions. All we're working on is closing the gap to where the way you feel now is closer to how you feel always. Just as driven, motivated, productive, successful, whatever that means to you in your respective lives. But with a mind that's steady, clear, focused, distracted by nothing, disturbed by no one. This practice is not easy. It's not necessarily fun. Meditation is free. Buddhist practice is free. And it's definitely not an escape from anything. And I know often people come to this practice, and many of you sitting there right now might feel like you're escaping from everything that's going on to do your meditation. And what I'm always talking about is the way I've learned this practice is not to escape from anything, but to actually face everything as it is. Everything that's happening in our lives doesn't change or stop just because we do meditation. What it does is it allows us to be with it as it is and face it with a mind and heart that's open and at peace. That's it. Once we stop trying to change, fix, control, manipulate everything and everyone around us, and we work on changing our mind and our reaction to the world around us, life gets simpler. But this is a practice. I talked earlier at the beginning about cultivating patience and finding ourselves in difficult situations. And at the same time, many of us have a situation in our lives where we have so much time to do anything we want. Well, I shouldn't say anything we want, but we have so much time to do a lot of things. A lot of things that maybe you haven't done in the past. A lot of things that maybe you haven't explored. This is your time to look at those things and ask yourself, what can I do right now? What can I do right now to make sure my mind and heart are healthy and at peace? That's what we want to explore. What can I do right now with my current situation that will allow me to take care of myself and my immediate surroundings? And this has a lot to do with surrendering control over a lot of the things that we don't have control over and looking at what we can be with. It's a different time than any of us could have ever imagined these last few weeks, a month or so. But what can you do today to make a difference in your life and the life of those around you? In your immediate family and friends and loved ones and strangers? How can you practice patience and face the fears and anger that you're sitting with and still do things that are positive and productive in this world? We all have those opportunities right now. But if we're wrapped up in anger and fear, we won't see them. So if you are brand new to meditation, do a practice like this every day. Allow yourself to get settled and calm and comfortable. Allow the dust to settle. There's a great kind of Zen metaphor I learned years ago where you have a vase, and in the vase you have pebbles and sand and rock and ideally clear water. And if you pick it up and you start shaking it, everything's a mess. And that's a reflection of our mind, often is a mess. And when you set the vase down, sand, rocks, pebbles, everything settles, and there you have the clear water. So the practice is to purify and clear the mind from all the craziness so we can see things as they are. A true reflection of what actually is, as opposed to what we want. So with that, as always here, what I'd like to do is stop, and I always prefer to just respond to questions, meditation, Buddhist practice, anything that's on your mind that I can address, and we'll use the rest of the time to take care of that. Oh, sorry, if you're not aware, you can type questions in the little chat box there on YouTube. I forgot to mention that in case you thought there were people here waiting to ask questions. So just type out your question and then Travis here will read it. You don't have to raise your hand.
So Martina asked, can you speak to the fear of financial insecurity?
Sure. Can I speak to the fear of financial insecurity? You have it. I mean, that's the first thing that comes to mind. You have fear of financial security. That's not fun. That's not pleasant. It forces us again to surrender and sit with the harsh reality that you may find yourself in a financial situation you've never been in your entire life. And many and all of the physical things around us, the luxuries, the clothes, the food, the houses, the cars, all of these things that we have, many of you have fear that that might go away. And you're right, it might. And it might not. But the fear of it doesn't change the reality of what will happen. So regardless of its financial security, if it's the fear of crossing the street, if it's the fear of anything that may occur in a relationship, if it's the fear of spiders, whatever fears we have are simply unknown worries that we don't know if they're true or not. So regardless of the outcome or the situation or the future, to live in fear will destroy you. So at this moment, I would ask, are you financially secure at this moment? Meaning right now, today. And if you were here and knowing you, the answer to that today would be yes. So that's what I would focus on. I'm financially secure at this moment. So at this moment, you don't have to worry about being financially insecure because this is the only moment that we're in. Now, if you can work on staying there, breath to breath and moment to moment, the fear will go away. 3 months from now, 6 months from now, 2 years from now, if things don't change, and that time frame is different for everybody, right? There are people who are not financially secure right now. But with regards to your question, you are financially secure at this moment. So why have the fear about something that we don't know is going to happen or not? And for those who are not financially secure at this moment, this is the really difficult danger and practice of figuring out, how can I survive with what I have? How and who can I reach out to for support? Where do I need to look to friends or family or other organizations that may be able to provide help? Right? Buddhist practice, as Martina, you know, doesn't solve things. It makes us look at the reality of the situation. And the reality of the situation is right now, you are financially secure. So the worries about it just ruin everything. So if you are one day no longer financially secure, call me and I can answer the question, what it's like to deal with it then. So hopefully that helps. Hand raising, yes. And Martina, I'm sorry, I wish I could see your face, like sitting over there, right under the window with the sun shining on you, and I could see the expression on your face that either says, this makes sense or this doesn't make sense, but I can't see that. So I'm going to go with the fact that that made sense.
So Catherine asked if you could talk more about what it means to release a thought.
Sure. So can I talk about what it means to release a thought? So when we do meditation, and this is, not just for you, but for anyone, right? We have a million thoughts. And when we are sitting in meditation, right, I've been doing this practice now 17 years every day. Is that right? Yeah. Wow, I'm getting old. 17 years I've been doing this practice every single day. And my mind still races a million miles an hour, right? Either I'm human or a terrible meditator or both. I don't know. But my mind races. As we sat here for 20 minutes and I was guiding you all, right? Do not fool yourself in thinking that I was just sitting here in some deep state of samadhi with nothing but pure breath. My mind went everywhere, right? I promise you. What we're doing during meditation practice, and I'll answer your question in a minute about releasing, but I want to explain it starting here, especially for those who might be new to meditation. As you breathe in and breathe out, this is the practice. Breath in, breath out. Recognize it. Sensation of breath. Breath in, breath out. Thought arises. See that there's a thought. Maybe the thought is hunger. Release that thought. Back to your question. Come back to breath. Breath in, breath out. Thought again. Say it's hunger. Release that. Back to breath. Right? This is what I'm working on. What I don't want to do, thought arises, hunger. I'm hungry. What do I want to eat? I want a burrito. I want to go to Poke's. I don't know if Poke's is open anymore. I don't know if I could get a burrito from Poke's, right? Next thing you know, from one single thought of hunger, I'm sitting there for 5 minutes thinking about a burrito I'd rather eat. And now I'm hungrier than I was before. So releasing thoughts, to me, what it means is to recognize the thought as it arises, and you're not actually releasing it. You're simply guiding your attention back to something else, which allows it to release. Because, and maybe at some point in time, I'll come up with another word that makes it better. I'm not a fan of letting go, that phrase, so I'll figure that out later. But the idea of releasing thoughts to me means I'm not forcing it away. I'm simply seeing it as it arises, and by driving my attention back to sensation of breath, by default, the thought will be released. If I try to force, I'm going to release this thought of hunger, then I'm going to get lost in the thought of hunger. And I'm going to focus on the thought of hunger. So releasing means allow it to be left alone. The metaphor I'll often use is, so right now, wherever you're sitting, without turning around, can you see what's on the wall behind you? Don't turn around. Right? No, you can't. But what's on the wall behind you is still there. And if you choose to turn around and look at it, you'll see it. So at that moment, you're not focused on what's behind you. You're focused on present moment, what's in front of you. And if we stay focused on the present moment, what's in front of us, all the thousands of passing thoughts kind of release themselves. So it's just allowing the fish to swim and leaving them alone, because they're peaceful fish. Why should we bother them? So hopefully that's helpful with regards to releasing thoughts. Oh, and one more thing I'll say on that. We use the breath in this practice, right? What I learned from the Buddhist teachings is Anapanasati Sutta talked about breathing in, taking a short breath, know you're breathing in, breathing out, taking a long breath, know you're breathing out, taking a long breath. So he talked about focusing on breath. But the reality is you can focus on your breath, you can focus on a shoe, you can stare at a bottle of water. If you're focused on one thing for a short period of time, you're not focused on everything else. So we call this present time awareness. Focused on one thing, which keeps you from worrying about past, anger, anxiety, or anger, sadness, depression. It keeps you from worrying about the future, stress, fear, worry, kind of going back to Martina's question earlier. Focus on present moment, and this allows everything around you to be left alone for a period of time. So hopefully that helps.
Cynthia says that her anxiety is through the roof, and
I'm laughing with you, not at you, Cynthia.
and she found herself wanting to bulk buy food that she knew she wouldn't need.
Yes.
She was asking if you could talk about craving, especially enough.
Yeah, so your anxiety is through the roof. And can I talk about you were bulk buying food and stuff you didn't need? And can I talk about craving and enough? The last part was enough. Yeah. So yes, anxiety is through the roof. My suggestion on that, first of all, is to try not to look at, try not to grade your anxiety. The simple fact of anxiety being through the roof is a very profound metaphor. And what I imagined was there being no roof. And if there is no roof, there's no roof to go through. There's just anxiety. And yes, I understand there are varying degrees of anxiety, but there are moments in your life you've had anxiety, and there's moments in your life where you've not had anxiety. And when you focus on, I have anxiety, and it's incredibly severe and extreme, it tends to heighten the anxiety that you have. So first off, on the anxiety, try not to gauge it and give it a grade. Just as I talked about, I think Tuesday night, be with the anxiety, recognize it, feel it. How does it make you feel physically? What is it doing to you? Where is it coming from? We know the answer to that. And what can you do going forward with it, right? And understand that the anxiety will pass. It won't stay. It's the teaching of impermanence in the Buddhist teachings. Your anxiety will pass, okay? Now, as far as bulk buying, we are human, we crave, we desire. We live in fear very often. And the world right now is living and acting out of tremendous fear, which is leading towards craving and desiring things that we may or may not even need what we're getting, right? And you recognize that, and that's why you're asking the question. So everything that you just hoarded, which probably made it home to you, I'd like you to try something. I don't know how you can do this safely, but see of everything you just hoarded, what you can give away safely. The practice of Buddhist teachings talks about greed being the root cause of our suffering. The second noble truth, the cause of suffering, greed, anger, ignorance. Greed is the first one. We overcome greed with generosity. We crave and we desire and we get greedy and we want and we want and we want. And so what I'm challenging you to do is to actually give something away that you just hoarded. Again, I can't have a dialogue so much with you right now, so obviously safety right now is incredibly important. I'm not suggesting you go door to door, asking who wants toilet paper. But see if there's a way safely to give something away. Maybe it's to someone in your household, right? Maybe it's, I don't know, you can figure something out. But begin to cut through the craving by recognizing you will survive if you don't have every single thing you just hoarded. That's my guess. And see what that does for you. Right? When we have anxiety and fear, and then we crave, and then we hoard, and then we get greedy, we're just feeding this entire vicious cycle wrapped up in ego and sense of self, thinking that I am most important. The reality is all the hoarding and everything that's going on right now shows us that everybody thinks their life is more important than everybody else's. That's the sad part. Why do we think that our life is more important than anyone else? It's not. We are no more important than anybody else. And we can talk all day long in meditation and Buddhist circles about, everybody being the same and we are all one. Everybody knows I hate that expression, right? Until a time like this, and all of a sudden all that goes out the window and we don't care about anybody else. We think I must have all the food and all the toilet paper in my house now, so leave me alone. That's ridiculous. Meaning, you think you're more important than others. Not necessarily you, Cynthia, I'm just talking to us in general. We think we are the most important person in the center of this universe. And that's our ego and that's our pride. So, remind yourself that It's important to stay healthy. It's important to be wise and take care of ourselves. But it's also important to recognize we're not any more important than anybody else.
Kind of in that same vein, Melanie's asking if you can talk about compassion for others, but also maintaining that social distance at the moment.
Yeah, I don't see, so can I talk about compassion for others and maintain social distance? Compassion for others has nothing to do with being around people physically. Zero. In fact, often compassion for others means completely staying away from people. And that's exactly what it is right now. I mean, this is very simple to me. Compassion is not physical. Nothing in Buddhism, in the teachings, is about physical. It's about consciousness. The Buddha called it Laya Vijnana, storehouse consciousness. It's about our collection of thoughts and words and actions. And the action required at this moment to carry out tremendous compassion is to stay as far away from people as possible. This is not about needing to be near people and have compassion. Ultimate compassion is to stay away. Now that might hurt you and that might be challenging for you because it challenges everything you've ever known, which says, well, I must hunt someone to feel compassion or love or connection. Or I must see someone to feel compassion or love or connection. That's not what the Buddha taught at all. The Buddha taught that everything lives in a state of mind. So the wisest and most compassionate act, from my understanding of the current situation, is to stay away from everyone. I think that's the most beautiful thing we can do right now. And that is endless compassion. That should have been pretty clear. Yeah. Not easy to do. But don't confuse compassion with physical nature or hugging or anything like that, or touching. It's not. That's physical contact. Because we've all hugged and had physical contact with people when there was hatred there. So don't confuse compassion with physical contact. Or even vision. Don't confuse compassion with sight. Seeing people doesn't mean compassion. We've seen people we loved and had compassion for, and we've seen people we've hated and had dislike for. So you don't need to see people to have compassion. You don't need to hug them to have compassion.
Taylor wanted you to speak about the fourth noble truth. And they also asked, the solution to suffering is the path we take. Yeah,
so your questions about the fourth noble truth and then the follow-up, which is the solution to suffering is the path we take. Absolutely. And what you're referring to is, let me walk through briefly to get to the fourth noble truth, which is the Eightfold Path. So just as a quick 60-second recap for anyone who might be brand new, when the Buddha taught 2,500 years ago, he lived 500 years before Christ. He was a prince, 29 years, left home, roamed the base of the Himalayan mountains for 6 years. And at 35, he sat down under the Bodhi tree in Bodh India, and said, I'm not leaving until I figure out why we suffer. So he sat for 21 days. And then after that, he had this deep realization, kind of the ultimate truth. These 5 guys came up to him who he had traveled with before, and they said, there's Siddhartha Gautama. He looks like he's figured something out. Let's go sit with him. And he started to teach. And what he taught was, it's called the first turning of the Dharma wheel. And that is the Four Noble Truths, right? That's a very crude 60-second version of the life of the Buddha. They called him Buddha. Buddha just means awaken. So they gave him that name, right? His name was Siddhartha. The first noble truth, he said, is life is dukkha, filled with suffering. It doesn't mean all of life sucks. It just means you're going to struggle a lot in your life. We are embracing that now more than ever, right? So we have a lot of suffering in our lives. There's also a lot of joy and happiness and peace and comfort and all these things. And there's a lot of discomfort, angst, dissatisfaction. This is dukkha. First one. Second noble truth is the cause of suffering. The cause, as I mentioned earlier, is called the 3 poisons: greed, anger, and ignorance. We overcome greed with generosity, which is why I told Cynthia, all that stuff you just hoarded, go give some of it away, right? Greed, anger is the second one. We overcome that with compassion, which I just talked about. And the third one is ignorance, and we overcome ignorance with wisdom. The third noble truth is the ending of suffering, cessation of suffering. This is nirvana, liberation. You have a lot of time on your hands right now. So if you haven't seen Groundhog Day, watch Groundhog Day. That's basically Groundhog Day, Fight Club, and The Matrix, 3 of the best Buddhist movies I've ever seen. You can watch the trilogy right now. Groundhog Day, Fight Club, and The Matrix. And you'll understand in a Hollywood way the best, I think, explanation of Buddhism. So the third noble truth is the ending of suffering. The fourth one, which you're asking about, is called the Eightfold Path. And this is, as you say, the path to end or reduce suffering, as I like to say. I don't like to say ending suffering because I think if we wake up on this Buddhist path and we think, well, am I going to end suffering today? Probably not. And you're going to get really disappointed and frustrated thinking this stuff doesn't work. So as a practitioner, I like to look at it as, can I suffer less today than I did yesterday? And if I can suffer less today than I did yesterday, then that's a really good place to be. So the Eightfold Path is having the correct views, thoughts, speech, action, livelihood, effort, mindfulness, concentration. Again, views, thoughts, speech, action, livelihood, effort, mindfulness, concentration. This is all available on Google for free. Four Noble Truths, Eightfold Path. You can look it up, or you can rewind this little YouTube recording and listen to it again, right? But what those basically address is your karma. It's your actions. The word karma means action. Karma is not what goes around comes around. Karma is not, do good and good will happen to you. Karma is what you bring into the world. So everything we think, everything we say, everything we do, that is our karma. Karma is not what we get, it's what we give. And to me, the Eightfold Path, summed up in brief, really is our karma. It's how we view reality. So the world is happening right now. All of us have different views of it, but that doesn't change what's happening. You can either be really miserable and anxious and afraid and depressed, or you can be at peace and calm and comfortable. That choice is yours. It doesn't change your present situation. It doesn't change what's going on in the world. But the view of it is up to you. You can listen to reports all day long that spin you into a world of madness, or you can go look at a picture of a beautiful flower or a puppy, whatever, and you can find something that will actually bring a sense of peace and calm into your life. Your thoughts, what do you actually think all day long? Do you think pleasant, unpleasant, or neutral thoughts, as the Buddha taught? If you're thinking pleasant thoughts throughout your day, then you're going to feel pleasant. If you're thinking unpleasant thoughts, you're going to feel unpleasant. And if you're thinking neutral thoughts, then you'll feel neutral. So the thoughts, and again, these are very brief, crude definitions or descriptions, but the thoughts are really important, right? Speech, what are your words? Are they timely? Are they necessary? Are they honest? Are they true? Right? What are the words you're choosing? Do they bring kindness and joy to others, or do they bring pain to others? Speech in our days, also social media, same thing. It's how we communicate. So how are you speaking to people via social media? Is it to lift people up and inspire them? Or is it to feed into this madness of, everything is coming to an end? Be very aware of your speech. Action. How do you physically move throughout the world, right? Right now, maybe you're physically only moving through your house if you have a house. Maybe you live in a car. Maybe you're only physically moving through your car. Maybe you live on the streets. Maybe you're physically only moving through the streets you're in. How are you moving and what are you doing? What is your action like? How are you taking care of what's around you? Livelihood. What is your profession? How do you spend your time? How do you make your money? How do you earn a living? Maybe some of you are making no money right now because of the situation that's going on. So how are you spending your time? I like to look at livelihood. It has the word life. How are you living your life moment to moment to moment? Right? Livelihood isn't just about an income, but what are you doing on a day-to-day basis to make a difference in this world? Hopefully a positive difference. Effort. How hard are you working? What is your effort like? Are you lazy? Are you complaining? Are you, wrapped up in negative thought? Or are you going to work hard and push through any situation that you're in? Right? Mindfulness. And one more thing about effort. To me, I compare effort to diligence, which is part of the paramitas, the 6 practices of the Bodhisattva. The last thing the Buddha said before he died is they were afraid of who was going to teach them now. And he said to them, I've left you the teachings, right? For 45 years, I taught you everything. Now strive on with diligence and be enlightened to yourself. So we don't need more teachings. We just need a greater effort. All the teachings are there. You have enough teachings on 3 pages of Google searches to last you the rest of your lifetime. The question is, will you do them? Or will you read a little Buddhist quote and then go out and treat people like crap? That's the reality. What effort are you putting in? Mindfulness, right? Are you aware of what's going on? The word mindfulness, it's gotten to a point where it's so played out in our Western culture, it's kind of ridiculous. But how aware are we of what's happening? Are we aware of present moment and the sounds and things that are around us? Can we focus and concentrate, which ties into the last one, concentration. How, to me, mindfulness and concentration play very closely together. Can we concentrate on the present moment, which is where we are right now, and be mindful and aware of everything that's going on? All the questions from Cynthia and Martina and all the fears and anxieties, yes, be aware that those are there. But concentrate on the moment right now, which is you're not starving right now and you have enough toilet paper right now. Concentrate on that and be aware of everything around us. So that's a very quick rundown of the Eightfold Path. Hopefully that's helpful. Like I said, you can explore online a lot of stuff on the Eightfold Path and the Four Noble Truths and everything with Buddhism. So I'm going to close on that, and then I'll make a quick announcement about kind of temple schedule and things like that. So we'll join palms as we're out of time. May the benefit of this practice be shared with all beings in all directions. May all beings be at peace. May all be free from suffering. May any merit gained from this practice be transferred to those who need it most. So a few quick announcements before you all turn off whatever device you're staring at right now. Thanks for sitting with us this morning. My name is Jeff. I'm a Dharma Bum. We opened up the Dharma Bum Temple, which I'm sitting in right now 14 years ago, to introduce Buddhist practice to local folks. Those of us who lead, we're not monks, we're not nuns, we're not gurus, we're not masters, we're not teachers, we're not looking for students. We're just practitioners. We do our best to take our understanding of Buddhist teachings and put it into terms that hopefully make sense. Everything we've done for 14 years has always been free, and everything will continue to be free. We have different people who lead from different traditions, as I mentioned. And so what we're doing now with the online schedule, we are slowly working on getting our entire schedule that we've always had back up. So right now what that means is Tuesday night, I'll do the Intro to Buddhism and Meditation. Wednesday night, Alex will do the Metta, Loving Kindness meditation. Thursday night at 7, Travis will do the Dharma Bum Basics and Meditation. So right now, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday nights, those classes will occur. The Recovery Sangha that we've always held downstairs, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, those will start this week as well. The 7 p.m. classes that are up here that I mentioned will be on YouTube. The recovery classes that are usually downstairs, those will be on Zoom. Our website now has all of the schedule current, meaning if you go to a Tuesday at 7 p.m., you'll see what's going on, you'll see how to log in, you'll see the YouTube link, or you'll see the Zoom link. So all of that is updated. It'll continue to get updated. Anything on the schedule that says on hold, that means we're not doing it live yet, but we're working towards that. Sunday morning, 10 a.m. Recovery Sangha will continue, and that will start this Sunday as well. That will also be on Zoom. Our college kids, if you're watching, the college kids are meeting Wednesday nights and Sunday nights, I believe, still on Zoom as well. Our teenagers will start again this Sunday at noon. I believe they're going to do what's called Netflix chat, but that'll get posted online on social media as well. And the Family Sangha, we're talking about how to start that. So everything we've been doing, we're going to do almost all of it. And one more last piece of kind of info. Liz Lewinson, who was going to come in and talk about her latest book, Women, Meditation, and Power, I believe is the title. Hopefully that's not out of order. That was March 29th, Sunday, 2 o'clock. Obviously, she's not able to be here, but we will have her live on Zoom and or YouTube. So I'll post all that information. But we're really working on just operating as normal as we can, because Sangha and community is most important right now. So please support each other as best you can. And whatever you have, please share it. So thank you all for being here. If you have any questions, just let us know. Good luck.